Good afternoon, my listeners and my viewers. My name is Engineer Chukwuka. It is my pleasure to welcome you to another interesting episode of Engineering Half Hour. With me in the studios today is Engineer Joshua Egube, a very accomplished engineer. He is the Director of Highways, Delta State Ministry of Works, a Fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, a Fellow of the Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers, and a Fellow of many professional bodies too numerous to mention. He is also a critical stakeholder in infrastructural development in Delta State. You're welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. One of the first questions I usually ask my guests on this program, especially when they're engineers, is how do you rate the Nigerian engineer when you look at where we are technologically? How do you rate the Nigerian engineer vis-a-vis his colleagues in other parts of the world?
Well, there's no gainsaying the fact that the Nigerian engineer could be better off. But like every other major index which you use to assess people, the state of the finances of any nation impacts on every other thing. How they carry on in many other professions, medical, technological, and several other things, military, and so forth. So we are still a third world nation, and in circumstances like that, there is a limit to what we can do. We are limited to how much resources are available. The Nigerian engineer is intelligent, hardworking, but we remain limited until the resources of the vast portions of the world in Asia, in Africa, and in some other places step up with the level of prosperity that is in those places.
Okay, sir. Is it right or correct for one to say that the Nigerian engineer has let down the Nigerian society? Because when we look at countries like China, like Malaysia, they were virtually at the same stage, developmental stage, with Nigerians in the 60s, in the 70s, but now they are far ahead of us. And they've gotten to where they are now because of their improvement in technology. So has the Nigerian engineer failed the Nigerian society?
No, not at all. The Nigerian engineer is doing a yeoman's job, working with equipment that are not current or substandard in an environment that is not helpful. Like I said, the prosperity of any nation is tied down to so many things. If you are still using the dumping level at a time when the total station is widely being used, you are doing that because you don't have the money to buy the total station. That equipment knows where it is, but the dumping level is told where it is. The military equipment that soldiers around the world are using know where they are. Their guns know where they are. But the ones we use here are not like that. We tell the guns, we tell the submarines where they are, but they should know where they are. So this is the difference. Medically, the kind of operations that are being performed, same thing, because technological advancements impact on the procedures that our medical personnel will follow. So if you don't have the right equipment, if you're not up to date, they will continue to use those earlier methods that results in a lot of bleeding, and that is brute. When I was much younger, they wanted to take out your tooth that has decayed. It was a painful thing. They told you not to cry, and they told you to be a man. And they took out your tooth in a very gruesome manner. But now, with improvements, anesthesia and all those kind of things, they take it out now in a very painless situation. So it's the prosperity. It has to do with everybody. Those countries are talking about, it was not necessarily the engineers that made them what they are. Their politicians, the rulers, made sure that vices like corruption, all these things were taken down. And then prosperity started coming. And with improved prosperity, your engineers now have an atmosphere where they can do far better. For example, when you go to United Kingdom, United States of America, many of these European countries, it's Nigerian engineers that you really see there.
Yes.
But why can't they do it here? Because the enabling environment is not there.
Okay.
That's just it. Okay. Otherwise, we are doing incredibly well here. But the best, our very best, is dwarfed because of the environment around us. It's dwarfed by what those other nations are doing. By people who are not even as intelligent as us, but they have the right tools. That's just the thing.
Okay, sir. Moving forward, this interview will not be complete when you have the Director of Highways, critical stakeholder in infrastructural development in Delta State with us here, and we don't ask some questions that pertain to infrastructure in Delta State. We would like to ask, before we kicked off this program, we did take a sample of questions from some of our viewers, and one question that kept popping up was the issue of road development across the express in Asaba, specifically opposite the Summit road across the express. Why is there a dearth of road in that area, sir?
Yeah, the thing is this. Yes, if you ask me general questions about civil engineering in Delta State, I'll be able to answer that and answer them authoritatively. For about 11 years, I was an important mouthpiece to organizations like BBC because I was the country representative for Nigeria as a whole of the Institution of Civil Engineers, London. By virtue of that, I spoke on things that pertain to Africa and anywhere. I said whatever I wanted to say because of my position as not only a fellow but as a representative of the Institute of Civil Engineers as a nation. Now, when you talk of things like what you are saying now, who decides which roads are constructed? We are only an important part of that process. But I must still go back to what I've been saying. No money, no friend. So if we had all the money in the state, we would tie the roads everywhere. So there are competing situations. You remember that some time ago there was a lot of drainage problem in Asaba here. And the state government embarked on massive drainage works, underground drains, very massive ones, so that Okpanam, Asaba, DLA and all these areas will be properly drained into the Anwar River. Those are very expensive projects. They are not even finished. They are still doing those things so that when the rain falls, you don't see anything. Now there are issues across the express. There are, even if you go deep into Okpanam, you see other areas that need to be considered. But like I said, the prosperity of any nation, of any state, will tell you what to do. If you give to A, then B will not get. Now, if you have more, then A and B can get. So I think that is the situation. So it's not as if money is there and then some areas have been neglected. But nevertheless, yes, I'm an important part of what happens. But who gets what first? I have superiors who take that decision. But one thing will still play out. How much do you have? You have money, then you do it. If you don't have it, too bad. Even the ones you've done, you need to maintain them.
Yes.
So that's just how it goes.
Okay, sir. So in a nutshell, what you're saying is that it's as a result of the paucity of funds. In terms of when I was in school, I used to remember they used to have something called opportunity cost in economics.
Yes.
So you cannot satisfy all, but something has to come first before the other because you have to prioritize because these resources are not there.
Not that the resources are not there. It's how much of the resources you have.
Okay.
Let me give you an example.
Yes, sir.
I was told some while ago. I did not try to confirm it, but it's easy to confirm that in the United States, the New York State, New York,
Yeah.
they have a fire department. The cost, the budget of the fire department is much more than the entire budget of Nigeria put together. The money they used to put out fire, it is fire. I remember at the time when we were doing this, one of these drainage, these are sewers in Asaba.
Yeah.
I traveled to Dubai. I was in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
They were doing their own sewer. They were using sewers of about 5 meters in diameter. Theirs cost about $1 billion. The one we were doing at that time probably cost about 1,000 of that amount. You cannot be doing the same thing. Somebody is spending $1 billion, which is about 500 billion naira.
Yes.
And you are spending 1 billion. You are not mates. You are not the same.
Yes, that's true.
And that is the amount that was available. Now, what we've done over the years is to improve on that with what we have. If we had $1 billion like them, we will not do only that drain. We will tap all sides. We might even help neighboring states. At least I saw this one because I visited with the Institution of Civil Engineers. They were having their normal biennial convention, and their minister for works came to address us.
Okay.
When I had 1 billion, and here we are doing. And what's the population of Abu Dhabi? At that time, I don't think they were more than 1 million. And they are doing that just for drain. So that is how it goes. You see, we have resources, but somebody that has 1,000 times what you have, and you are not mates.
Okay.
He will do things, and that's how it is.
Okay, sir. You've been speaking for some time now, and you've been mentioning the drain flood control scheme embarked by the state. You notice that our people are not so disciplined, because one notices that when it rains, you see all sorts of garbage. People throw garbage into those drains, and those drains are finally going to empty into the sewer. This may create issues down the line. One would have thought maybe, well, it's two ways. It's either we are correcting the behavior of people, or we are using engineering solutions to prevent the dumping of refuse inside the drains. So one will ask, why are we not having drains with more removable covers? Because I believe that will stop or reduce the incidences of dumping of refuse into the drains.
The thing is this: when the drains are open, they are easier to maintain. You have access. Now, when they are covered, they are more elegant. But access becomes difficult. Now, when they are open, it's also easier to throw things into the open drains. When they are covered, you will still, from time to time, have to enter to clear it. Same thing too when they are open. So we cannot run away from the fact that we need to be better behaved. Maybe we need to have sanctions put in place for people that do such things. If you are caught, you pay a fine of such and such an amount. Of course, the open ones are less expensive. When the drain has to go underground, then it cannot be open. It must be covered. Now, when it's above ground, you don't have a choice of covering or opening them, or using a combination of the two. Yes. So that is how it is. But another thing too is that the process of linking adjoining streets to the open ones is easier. You just take it in. So there's a lot. It's far more expensive to cover them, and then it's more intricate to deseal and to maintain the drains when it's covered. When it's open, it's cheaper, it's easier, and so forth. So what you said, we need to be more disciplined. We should put sanctions in place to stop that. But I cannot just say here that we must cover all the drains. Some of these drains are self-cleansing. If an appropriate slope is used, they are self-cleansing. So when the rains come, whatever they put there is carried away. So the thing to say is that we should do the appropriate thing. Use the covered drain where you must use them, and the open ones where it's more appropriate.
Okay, sir.
Or is it?
Yes, sir. Let's shift gear into the engineer as a person. How will you say you find the welfare condition of the Nigerian engineer? Is the Nigerian engineer well paid? Is he well remunerated for his effort?
The Nigerian engineer is not well paid now. Take this time we used to study in the schools. We spent 5 years. Some of the other professions spend 4. Now, if you have to go into engineering, you have to be good in physics, in mathematics, in chemistry, and those basic sciences. And so it is only those who consider themselves bright that go there. But I'm sorry to say, Nigerian engineers are not properly encouraged. And again, like I say, it is not only the engineers that are doing this to themselves. Also, the political class. When a new government comes in, take at the federal level, for example, top politicians, where do they want to go to? Petroleum Ministry, these are engineering ministries. Aviation, Ministry of Works, Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Mines, Ministry of Power. These are the engineering ministries. This is where those who did not read engineering want to go. And that is where they go. The engineers are not in many of these industries. When it happens like that, I have children. If my children see that the person who is heading power, mines, the person is having housing, is not an engineer, he will probably want to read the course that person read. So that is the thing. So engineers look at the town we have, for example, now in Asaba. Look at all the hotels. How many engineers have one major one? Look at all of them. Number 1, 2, 3, 4 at the end. We don't have anything. But we are supervising the mega projects. Not only here. Look at the Second Niger Bridge that the federal government is doing, handled by Julius Berger. Probably about 300 and something billion. We have engineers there. Poor! How much do they have? Nothing. So, it's something that we have to collectively address. You cannot cry more than the bereaved. First of all, what are engineers doing to help themselves? It's when you start crying. It's when you start saying something. Other people will now come in and help you. But I don't see we're not doing enough to help engineers. There are even incidents when engineers are placed in some of these engineering organizations, and the way they handled colleagues was appalling. You see? But then, that does not mean that they should not be encouraged. If you read engineering, you should be encouraged. There should be something that will make others want to say, let us read this profession. But I can tell you, go around Nigeria, engineers are not doing well economically at all, and I stand to be corrected. And we must do something about it. The Nigerian side of engineers is doing a lot, but it's not something we'll just leave to NSE or Koren. Everybody must do a bit That's the thing.
Okay, sir. You even preempted my next question, which was what are the professional bodies doing to try to solve the problem we are discussing about? Because most engineers, when you interview them, they feel that the professional bodies are not coming to the game with their big guns. They are not putting in enough effort to try to sensitize those in authority about the plight of the engineers.
You see, this thing you are saying, it's not very straightforward. It's a bit complicated. The Nigerian State of Engineers have done a lot. Korean has also done, but we are not seeing the result. It's like they are up against an enormous force. They are not fighting something small, but we need to do more. We need to do more. It has to be by everybody. We don't leave it to the political class alone. That is it.
One of the challenges facing the engineering industry is the proliferation of quacks in the industry. This should be where the fight should come from, the professional bodies. In your opinion, you think they are also taking up this fight as they should?
Well, we are Korean and NSE are doing a lot. They are saying, for example, that certain projects should not be handled by those that are not professionals. But again, like I said at the beginning, we are so poor. There's no way a bricklayer can just wake up and say he wants to put up a 10-story building. He can't dream of it. And that is why we are engineers. We are trained on real and imaginary numbers. You are trained to count from 0, 1, 2, 3 to 10, and then to count back from 0, -1, so that you can think in abstract. Now, if there's a lot of money, we will be at the top doing things that the ordinary man cannot think about. But now, we seem to be doing the same things. The bricklayer is building a bungalow, the engineer is also building a bungalow. If you go to electrical engineering, for example, the installers are wiring, doing electrical installation for 1, 2, 3 floors. If it's a skyscraper, if it's 20 floors, they won't be there. They won't know how to handle it. We get to a certain level of building where the water heater is not in every room in the hotel. It is done centrally. The AC is done centrally. When you get to that point, the quacks can't measure up. So that is one thing. But having said that, we must still find a way to deliberately help our professionals. For example, now, there was a document we did sometimes in Delta State here on how to handle collapsed buildings that was submitted. And in that thing, it was stated that when you submit your drawings to the planning authorities, you, the owner, must come up with a team of professionals that you say are going to supervise it, who will sign off. Not waiting for town planning people to come and check whether you did the right thing or not. So, for example, if I want to build even a bungalow or a story building, I will come with my architect that will say, yes, I designed this and I'm supervising. The structural engineer will say, yes, I'm handling the foundations. And then others for environment will say, these are the drains in this place. This building has been drained to empty into such and such a place. And then the town plan. So there is a minimum set of professionals that should go along with every building that's going to be built. If we did that in Delta State, for example, or any state for that matter, we will be looking for professionals because we shall not have enough. You see it. So if you are building, you come up with your professionals. Now, on the other side, on the government side, they will have not just one team, but several teams working in the planning authorities. So, and they are interacting with their colleagues on the other divide. Not that when the building collapses, hey, the planning, where are they? It's not just them. That man built it, the owner has a responsibility. And then they too should have many, because if we do what I'm saying now, like in a state like this, the work will be too much for the kind of personnel we have now in the town planning authorities. They will be forced to employ more. And I'm telling you, there will be a dearth of professionals in a very short time. And when you are doing well, others want to do your profession, you will be happy, and we can start from there. Okay. Now, when you look at a state like Lagos State, they have a laboratory. If you are building, they don't need the permission, they just come, take concrete, go and test. The work became too much for the main government laboratories. They now commissioned a lot of private laboratories that help them in such things. When the people from the lab are moving around buildings, they go with security vehicles. So you can't do them anything. So if what is happening in Lagos, for example, we improve upon it here, and all the states are doing that, we will have more people wanting to read engineering. That is how it is. You deliberately engage these people. Let everybody trying to build a house come up with a team. They will sign up. If the person sees that you no longer want to do something qualitative, he will withdraw. And then the town planning will stop you. You see? Yeah. So we need every owner to come up with a set of professionals before his buildings are approved, before he can start what he's doing. He's not saying, hey, we are the government town planning people. No.
Okay, sir. You mentioned that there seems to be apathy to reading civil engineering, to reading engineering generally because of the state of engineering nationwide. But we would like to have, what advice do you have for people who are already engineers, young engineers, and people who are aspiring to read engineering?
Well, if you say for people already aspiring to read civil engineering, then those ones are motivated to read it for certain reasons. I would tell them to be serious and don't be driven by the love of money. Money will come later, but you must understand civil engineering. You must understand electrical engineering. Otherwise, it will not be interesting. If, for example, I'm an electrical engineer and I don't know the size of the cables which are running in this place, I don't know which size of switches to use, I don't know many of the things here, the profession will not be interesting. If I'm a civil engineer, for example, and I don't know what thickness the deck of my story building should be, I don't know what size the foundation should be, I go past a bridge, I don't know why they're having the depth they're having, the profession will become boring. It will lack excitement. It will not be interesting. One reason some of these other professions are interesting is because everybody seems to have an idea of what that person is doing. If a doctor is talking, the other doctor seems to follow very easily. If they say he has appendicitis, they say he has hernia, if they say he has malaria, generally they seem to know what they are talking about. Now, there are some that are more proficient than others, but they follow. If lawyers are talking, when they tell you that something is ultra-vires, they tell you that something is an ex parte motion, other lawyers seem to know what they're talking about. But in engineering, I was in France some years ago, and we're trying to take an inventory of some of the 3 world record bridges that had clear spans without support of 300 meters, one of them, another one 600 meters, another one 800 meters, no pillars underneath the bridge. And they said that they only have 3 engineers like that in France as a whole who understand that thing. And the 3 of them were with us in that meeting. But here, we think that all the engineers there know it. It's not true. I've been to the US many times. It's still few engineers that understand the very complicated things. That's why I say those who are going to research engineering should put their heads down and study it. When they know more, it becomes more exciting. It becomes fascinating. It's not boring. And then that apathy will come. And then money will come after that because you'll be in use all the time. You'll be wanted. But if you spend your time doing easy things, then you will not know much. You will still graduate, but you are not going to enjoy the profession. I'm enjoying it. That's it.
Okay. Well, my viewers, You've heard it all from a very erudite, a very accomplished engineer, Engineer Joshua Egube, Director, Highways, Delta State Ministry of Works, a fellow of so many professional bodies we cannot start naming here, a critical stakeholder in infrastructural developments in Delta State. I want to thank you specially, sir, for taking time off your very busy schedule to be with us. We appreciate your presence in our studios. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Yes. The pleasure is ours. So, my viewers and my listeners, until we meet again in another interesting episode of Engineering Half Hour, it's me, Engineer Chukwuka Uche, signing off. Bye-bye.